Fundamental rules of Zakah: gold, silver or trading assets, which are bought with the intention of trading. If it is equivalent to the nisab of Zakah, then it is obligatory on such a person to pay Zakah. However, other fixed assets such as land, or property, not for commerce, even if he collects rent from it, Zakat is not obligatory on him. Similarly, Zakat is not obligatory on precious gems and stones. However, if their value is equivalent to nisab, he is considered as wealthy in Sharia. Thus, he cannot receive Zakah but at the same time is not obliged to pay Zakah. It is not permissible to give Zakah to immature children if their father is rich. If the children are mature and poor, but their father is rich, it will be permissible to give Zakah to them. If the father of an immature child is not rich, it will be permissible to give Zakah to that child. Zakat cannot be given to a non-Muslim. Other forms of voluntary charity, sadqa nafila, may be given to them. Zakah cannot be given to the children of Banu Hashim. These are descendants of the Prophet's family, for example, the descendants of Hazrat Ali, Hazrat Ja'far, Hazrat Aqil, and Hazrat Harith ibn Abdul Muttalib, and are commonly known as Sayyids. Zakat can be given to such a poor woman whose husband is wealthy. Zakatable assets: gold and silver. Cash, no matter whichever currency, its market rate should be kept. Cash or trading commodities equivalent, like prize bonds, travelers' checks, shares, or certificates etc. For example, bonds, shares, or certificates. Livestock, for example, goats, sheep, cows or buffalo, etc. Agricultural produce. Receivable debts. Imam Abu Hanifa has classified debts into three categories, namely Dini Kawi. These debts are those that arise in respect of trading stock sold and delivered in the ordinary course of business, monies lent and advanced, the loan of gold and silver. The ruling for this class of debts is that the creditor, upon receiving the amount owing to him, is obliged to pay Zakah for the entire preceding period of credit. Dine mutawassit. These debts are those that arise in respect of the sale of goods, other than the trading stock. For example, the purchase price of the sale of personal clothing, or motor vehicle, or land. In the case of such debts, the ruling is that Zakah is not payable for the preceding years, but is only payable for the Zakah year calculated from the time of repayment of the debt. Dine zaif. These debts are those that do not arise from the sale of goods or property. For example, debts receivables in respect of inheritance, dowry, rentals, wages, and provident fund payments. The ruling for this class of debts is that Zakah is not payable, unless full amount is paid and one Zakah year passes thereon after payment. No Zakah is payable for preceding years. Debts payable to others. Zakah payer. in order to be Sahib un-Nisab, must be free of debts. If he is indebted to his creditors, then the amount of his debts must be deducted from the total value of those assets, on which zakah is levied. The balance remaining will be subject to zakah. If there is no balance remaining, no zakah is obligatory. It should be kept in mind that the ruling mentioned above regarding the treatment of debts payable is related to the person who is not a corporate businessman. However, if someone has a corporate business, then the ruling is that only short-term debts that are to be matured in less than 1 year are to be deducted from zakatable assets. Long-term debts that are to be matured in more than 1 year will not be deducted from the total value of the assets on which zakah is levied. General conditions for all zakatable assets. Ownership. The subject matter of zakah must be in the complete ownership of the payer. Potential of growth. The asset must have the potential of growth like gold, silver, or trading assets. They are also called amwale namia. One year must elapse over the asset. For example, if a person received an amount equal to the nisab on 1st of Shawwal and this wealth equivalent to nisab remains in his possession for a complete year, so the person would check on 1st of Shaban how much collective amount he has. Then he would pay 2.5% zakat on this. If the amount increases during the year, it would not be counted as separate, but it would be included in it and considered in the next year's zakat amount. Transfer of ownership, at tamlik. At tamlik means the transfer of ownership of zakah from the zakah payer to a poor and needy person. The transfer of zakah must be unconditional. The transfer of zakah must not be a consideration for services rendered by the recipient. The transferee, or recipient, must be a natural person entitled to receive zakah. Thus, zakat cannot be given to any trust, masjid, hospital, or school. Zakat on trading commodities. Apart from jewelry, goods that have been purchased for personal use and not for the purpose of trade are not subject to zakah, irrespective of their value. Similarly, goods, other than gold and silver, originally bought for personal use are not subject to zakah, if the purchaser subsequently intends to sell them for trade, and had not intended it at the time of purchase. Once sold, however, their sale price would be subject to zakah. If the property is on rent, then the asset will not become the subject matter of zakah. However, the rentals received will be the subject matter of zakah. Trading assets at any shop or raw material of any factory or mill, and the products manufactured in an industry, are subject matter of zakah. Zakat needs to be taken out on the market price of shares or certificates. However, if there are fixed assets behind them, then fixed assets are exempt from zakah, whereas current assets are subject to it. For instance, there are 30% fixed assets behind the shares and their price is 100 rupees, then only 70 rupees is the subject matter of zakah. Zakat on jewelry. Gold and silver are subject to zakah, regardless of whether they are owned for personal use or otherwise. However, zakah is not payable on any other kind of jewels, gems, or precious stones, such as diamonds, rubies, etc., other than gold or silver. However, if they are acquired for business, then zakah will be payable on them. If gold or silver is not pure, and some other commodity, such as copper etc., is added to it, then if the major portion of the element is of gold or silver, it is considered as gold or silver respectively, and zakah will be obligatory on it. And if gold and silver is in minor proportion, then it is not considered as gold or silver and no zakah will be obligatory provided that it is not purchased with the intention of sale. Intention of zakat. The intention to give zakah is a prerequisite for the discharge of the zakah obligation. The zakah obligation is discharged if the intention is made at either of 2 points of time: at the time of giving zakah, or at the time of separating and setting aside the zakah amount for distribution. In this case, the zakah would only be discharged if the physical transfer to the needy recipient is made, and the intention of zakat is not necessary each time. If the person did not make the intention of giving zakah at the time of giving it to the poor person, then as long as that money is still in the possession of the poor person, he will be able to make the intention. By making the intention at this stage, his zakah will be fulfilled. But if the poor person has already spent that money, then the intention that is made at this stage will not be considered. He will have to repeat the payment of his zakah. It is not necessary to inform the person who is being given zakat that it is zakat. If the zakah payer or owner pays the zakah amount to an agent for distribution to the recipients entitled and makes the intention at the time of such payment to the agent, then the zakah obligation will be discharged if the agent gives zakah to the poor without any intention on his part. Way of calculating zakat. First of all, the zakatable assets are to be calculated. For instance, total gold, silver, cash, trading assets, etc. After this, debt needs to be deducted and 2.5% needs to be paid on the remaining.